Ambassador Zixthor's 4 eyes blinked in sequence as he processed the transmission from the Galactic Council. The message was simple, bureaucratic even, but its implications made his chitinous plates rattle with what his species called the tremor of poor decisions. Declaration accepted, the message read. The Krillian Empire is now officially at war with the species known as humans of planet Earth. Zixthor had tried to warn them. For 3 standard cycles he had pleaded with the Council to reconsider. But the Krillians were proud, and humans had refused to surrender their outer colonies. It was, the Krillian High Command declared, an insult that demanded blood. The ambassador pulled up the human database he'd been compiling, a hobby that had become an obsession, then a warning and finally a eulogy he was writing in real time for the Krillian Empire. The Krillians had made a fatal assumption. They looked at humanity's military and saw a modest force. 300 vessels, kinetic weapons, primitive fusion drives. The Krillian armada numbered 15,000 ships with plasma cannons that could liquefy a moon. On paper, it wasn't even a contest. But Zixthor had learned something the Krillians refused to acknowledge. Humans didn't fight on paper. The first battle took place at Proxima Outpost, a human mining colony with a population of 50,000. The Krillian fleet arrived in overwhelming force, 200 warships. Against the outpost's 12 defense platforms, the platforms lasted 4 minutes. What happened next would be studied in military academies for generations. The human miners, civilian contractors, and a handful of off-duty soldiers refused to evacuate. Instead, they armed themselves with mining equipment, improvised weapons, and what one human called spite and poor impulse control. When the Krillians landed their ground forces, expecting easy surrender, they found the humans had rigged the entire colony with explosives. Every building, every tunnel, every corridor was a trap. The humans fought from the rubble, using tactics that made no tactical sense and every psychological sense. They sang songs while fighting. They made jokes over open channels. One human engineer held off an entire platoon for 2 hours using nothing but a welding torch, and what the after-action report described as disturbing creativity. The Krillians took the outpost, but at the cost of 4,000 soldiers, for 50,000 civilians with mining equipment. Zixthor watched the tactical reports with growing dread. The Krillian High Command celebrated their victory. He began drafting condolence messages. The second engagement occurred 3 weeks later. A Krillian supply convoy, protected by 50 warships, was ambushed in deep space. Human vessels appeared from behind a dwarf planet where no ships should have been able to hide. They'd been waiting in silence for 17 days. Life support at minimum, eating cold rations in the dark. The humans didn't try to win the engagement. They crippled the supply ships and vanished before the Krillian escorts could respond. It was inefficient, wasteful, and strategically brilliant. The Krillians had to divert 3 fleets to protect their supply lines. But what truly haunted Zixthor was the message the humans broadcast before retreating. Thanks for the practice. We're just getting started. They were laughing. As the war continued, Zixthor documented humanity's peculiar approach to conflict. They didn't fight to win battles. They fought to make victory so expensive that the cost became unbearable. Every planet the Krillians took required months of urban combat. Every supply line needed constant protection. Every victory felt like defeat. The humans had a saying, "If you're going through hell, keep going." The Krillians were learning that humans didn't just go through hell, they brought it with them and made everyone else pay the heating bill. Then came the incident that changed everything. Krillian battle group cornered a human hospital ship, unarmed, undefended, carrying 3,000 wounded. The Krillian commander, frustrated by months of guerrilla warfare, made a decision. He fired on the hospital ship. Zixthor heard about it through unofficial channels first, then through official channels, then through every channel simultaneously as the galaxy watched in horror. The humans' response was immediate and terrifying in its simplicity. Every human fleet, every human soldier, every human civilian with access to a weapon received the same order. No mercy, no prisoners, no quarter. What had been a difficult war became a nightmare. Humans stopped fighting strategically and started fighting personally. Krillian ships began disappearing. Entire outposts went dark. The humans used tactics that violated every convention of civilized warfare. And when the Galactic Council protested, the human response was simple. You watched them murder our wounded. We're done being civilized. 6 months into the war, the Krillian Empire controlled less territory than when they'd started. Their economy was collapsing under the military spending. Their people were terrified of the demons from Earth who fought like death itself had taken physical form. The Galactic Council finally intervened, forcing a ceasefire. The Krillian ambassador arrived at the peace talks. Arrogant and demanding, the human ambassador arrived with a single briefcase and a smile that made Zixthor's plates rattle. "We accept your surrender," the human said simply. "Surrender?" The Krillian sputtered. "We have the larger fleet, the stronger economy. You have 6 months before your government collapses," the human interrupted. "We have 6 generations of people who'll dedicate their lives to making you regret firing on that hospital ship. Your choice is simple. Peace now, or we turn this from a war into a grudge. And humans are very, very good at holding grudges." The treaty was signed within an hour. Later, Zixthor found himself sharing a drink with the human ambassador. "How?" he asked. "The numbers were against you. The logic was against you. How did you win?" The human swirled her drink and smiled. "You know what makes humans dangerous, Ambassador? Every other species in the galaxy evolved on their home world, adapted to their environment, learned to survive. Humans? We didn't adapt to Earth, we conquered it. We climbed to the top of the food chain using nothing but spite, stubbornness, and really bad decision-making skills. You think we were going to let a bunch of crustaceans in spaceships intimidate us?" She raised her glass. "To the Krillian Empire. Congratulations on declaring war on a species that hunted mammoths with pointed sticks and thought that was a fun weekend activity." Zixthor clinked his glass against hers and updated his report. Recommendation to Galactic Council. Under no circumstances should any member species declare war on humans. Not because they can't be beaten, but because the cost of victory is extinction, and the cost of defeat is worse, becoming their enemy. The report ended with a human phrase he'd learned: "Fuck around and find out." The Krillians had found out.